Last half hour on a Thursday. We know what that means. I'm hoping that Niko got some sleep. Maybe got a couple more HRs than he has in the past when he's been having the late nights with CONCACAF rolling in here on a Thursday. He's nodding his head in the green room, so it sounds like he did. We'll find out what cup of coffee he's on. And here's our buddy Niko Moreno. How are you, my friend? And you broke out the lid. That's you had more prep time. You broke out the lid. You're ready to go.
What's going on? Everything all right, guys? Excited to be here, and maybe quite the opposite. When I wear a hat, it's because I don't do my hair, so I definitely slept a little in this morning. It was a late one with all the Concacaf. I ended up watching maybe way too much soccer last night.
No such thing.
Woke up like at 2:30, I think. I'm just like, oh man, TV's still going. So, yeah, man, but excited to be here. Lots to talk about. It's really one of those weeks where there were some good games, there were some awful injuries, there was some good CONCACAF games. There's just a variety of things that we can get into today.
Yes, sir. And we will start with your Conca champions, and we'll start locally. It was not a good night to wrap things up for Seattle on a bunch of different fronts. And you were paying attention to the TV broadcast on our friends over at Tudene, and you caught some notes on Paul Arriola, and you now have Paul Arriola concerns. You have Jordan Morris concerns. Since the match, when Seattle got bounced out of Conca Champions, what is the latest as you know it?
Yeah, everything that I've been able to find out in regards to Paul Arriola is that he is unfortunately out for the season. It will be a season-ended injury. Like you said, I mean, just throughout the broadcast, they were talking about the amount of pain Paul Arriola was in. He gets carted out, sent off in an ambulance. There, you could hear the screams of pain and suffering in the broadcast. But later down the road, I've been able to find things here and there, and it appears that it is an ACL injury. We will wait for confirmation, of course, as always, from the club and see what they let us know. But as far as I've been able to find out, Paul Arriola, a player that has been outstanding for the moment he walked into the training field for this Sounders team. He's been good on and off the field, has integrated perfectly with this group of players, and had been one of the most consistent players from the very beginning of 2025. So a big loss. I know people have been talking about, he's just a co-stellar player. He's just another, like depth piece. But I think he had been more than that on the leadership end, and his versatility and what he provided, I thought was pretty substantial. So Seattle will have the need to go out there and look for a replacement, whether they feel that is going to be a winger or a wing back. Obviously, Reed Baker-Whiting should be back at some point. He was training last week, according to Brian Smetzer. So maybe that helps you out there. But I really do think that Seattle will need to go and find a replacement piece for Paul Arriola being out.
I was going to ask now, how does this orient things for the short term? In one case, hopefully with Jordan Morris from a Seattle perspective, and you mentioned the long term with Arriola. So how does the starting 11 look now, especially on a quick turn, and how does it look going forward? How much change do you anticipate now with these injuries, both long term and short term?
It's a great question because Brian has said consistently that he still doesn't know what the starting 11 looked like even before these injuries. So now that there are those injuries, it's really hard to say. He has been really apprehensive about playing Jesus Ferreira at the 9. Now, I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's more on what Ferreira provides a little bit deeper in terms of connectivity, link-up play, creativity. You saw him put that great ball into Kalani in the LAFC game just recently. So maybe that's why. But in my opinion, there is more cover. There is more depth in those midfield areas than up top. Because if Danny Musovski, who's been used as your number two striker, really, because anytime the Jordans come off, he's the one that comes in. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence. And I'm glad that Musovski got a goal at Cruz Azul in Estadio Olimpico. I really am. Maybe he helps them boost some confidence and kind of open the gates of goals that have not been there at all since he arrived in Seattle. So maybe that helps out. But in my opinion, I would like to see Pereira as that nine. You got options depending on the formation that you play. With Manungu, you have options with even um, Obed Vargas playing a little bit higher, and you play JP next to Christian Roldan. So I do think that there is going to be some big changes on what it looks like short term. We don't know what the severity of Jordan Morris's injury is. I hope it's not severe, but the way he grabbed that hamstring, and I said this online, and I want to be very clear that it's not Monday quarterback in this thing, but even at the end of the first half, you could see how exhausted Jordan Morris was. Jordan Morris was one of the least rotated players in this squad. He started just about every game this season. He'd been playing a ton of minutes. The question being why, if you brought in Ferreira as this huge playmaker, why has there been so much hesitation to play him up top? And Jordan Morris, because of that, has been playing a ton of minutes, and he looked exhausted just in the first half. I remember making some notes like right before the 50th minute, where Jordan Morris is struggling to get to certain balls, and you could see him forcing his body because he's that guy. He's going to give you that effort. He's not going to ask for a sub because he wants a goal. He wants to help out. But I felt like coach should have brought him off just because of how difficult it seemed for him to get to certain places on the field. So, unfortunately, we'll see what that looks like. Hopefully, it's not long term. And we had the Pedro de la Vega, who also came off before that game, of course. But that's three big injuries for a squad that the whole purpose of the way this roster was designed and the way that Craig Weibel, Brian Smetzer, they presented this project, this 2025 roster, was in terms of depth and how the floor was going to be really high and they were going to be able to hit the floor running. Right now, that's a big question mark in figuring out how much depth does this team really have, because no Jordan Morris, no Pedro de la Vega, no Paul Arriola. Those are three big pieces that are missing from your overall roster. And to the fans, man, I mean, look, I'm not saying that the season is over and not being over pessimistic, but when it comes specifically to this CCC run, I think that it's fair for them to be upset. Look, this club is supposed to play for trophies. They're supposed to play for greatness, and them getting bounced off as early as they are getting bounced off this CONCACAF Champions Cup. It is a disappointment. It is a failure because Seattle didn't lose this series in Mexico. They lost it in Seattle when they did not take advantage of an opportunity of having a visitor team without six key components, six key players off that roster, and you were unable to make it count at home. You were unable to put the pressure on the Sul. You were unable to score, and because of that, really, you end up losing the series.
Other matchups to wrap up this particular section. We have the two tonight. Cavalier in front of 35,000. Messi and friends are traveling to Cavalier and playing at the National Stadium. Alajuelense is taking on Pumas. That's at 10 o'clock. Last night, Galaxy took care of business, knocking off Heridiano 4-1. LAG advances. Club America shuts out Guadalajara. Chivas last night 4-0, so they advance. And the Whitecaps got the Duke at taking on Monterrey. So Vancouver advances. And now we're kind of getting the notion as to what it's going to look like. LAFC works through, Cruz Azul works through, Tigres works through. So we're kind of seeing how things are laying out here, and it is there is going to be some intrigue going forward in some of these brackets in the next round. But MLS's presence in it is dwindling and continues to do so, except here in the second little bits.
Whitecaps was impressive against Monterrey. They really took it to them. I mean, Monterrey ends up tying this game in the 90th minute, I believe, with a bogus handball. I mean, as outrageous of a handball as I can think of.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's what they get that 2-2. But with their own system, with their own ability, I thought that Colombian wingback or fullback Ocampo was outstanding the whole game. He gets a great goal. Brian White being Brian White. I mean, Vite. I mean, this team has some players. Unfortunately, they did lose Ryan Gold to a non-contact injury, and that's going to probably be something to look at, and that definitely handicaps their overall potential. But they've been good, man. They took it to Monterrey. Fans were throwing things at the coach, insulting the coach. He went on record after the game and said, "Look, I understand that fans want us to win, but once you cross a certain line, man, it's kind of hard." So a lot of frustration there in Monterrey, a lot of frustration for this specific team. But man, credit to Vancouver for doing what they did.
Yep. So Vancouver ends up getting the winner of Alajuelense and Pumas, low left. You have LAFC taking on the winner of Cavalier and Messi and Friends. And on the right-hand side, it is Club America Cruz Azul, and it is Tigres taking on LAG. So that's your rundown of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza this week. And so now when you look at things coming out of this, we have to kind of go back even further in a compressed match week to talk about what happened in match week 3. And you end up with let me roll through the results here and see what sticks in your brain specifically before we get into match week number 4 with a CONCACAF midweek. So you have all caps putting 3 on LAG, which was a bit of a surprise. I did not have
That's a big one.
I did not have City putting 3 on LAG. Messi and Friends down a man. It was Oscar Ustari off of the dog. So they beat Charlotte 1-0, and Charlotte basically just seemed to have the one game plan of, hey, Wilf, go long, and we'll get it to you. Just like run a vert, and then the Geno Smith just throws it long or whatever. Minnesota United shuts out San Jose. San Diego continues to roll up wins. They were a dog at RSL at a plus 351, got the win 3-1 there at RSL. Whitecaps beat CF Montreal. Then they go and beat Monterrey. They've had a busy week. Rapids beat Austin. Fire put 3 on Dallas. Nashville found some goals beating Portland. Goalless draw with Atlanta United and Red Bulls. DC United found goals against Sporting, which was kind of shocking. Toronto's in trouble. Tell me something I didn't know. They get shut out by Cincinnati. Philadelphia shuts out New England. New England's in trouble. Campana is injured. Caleb Porter saying keep the faith already. NYC beats the purple team. Seattle put 5 on LAFC. And Crew and Dynamo were goalless. What stuck out in your mind for match week 3?
Well, St. Louis is impressive. They, I believe, are the only team that has not conceded a goal. I think that they've been outstanding from back to front. All of Mulberg has definitely done a good job at saying, "Hey, we're going to be a team that's hard to break. A team that's hard to break down. We're going to be in every game." And then all of a sudden, now you get into this LAG game, and although it wasn't perfect, and we did see some signs of life from the LA Galaxy in this one early, at least. Marco Royce looked better than he has in the past. They had some opportunities, some chances on goal. Gabriel Peck still trying to calibrate his right foot and trying to figure out where he wants the ball. So there were opportunities, but I thought that Harold was fantastic. Probably the best in that particular game. Toucher, Durkin, Klaus, they all were great, and it makes you think if San Luis can figure out that offense, they're going to be a very complete team. So it was an impressive win for San Luis. Another one was Baribo with Philadelphia, continues to score goals, right? He has 6 goals in 3 games. He's tied the record for most goals in 3 games. Now he's going for most goals in 4 games. Cornell and the Philadelphia Union are looking like a real contender in the East. And they just seem to have a very steady way of play and understand where they want the ball, how they want to attack, how they want to defend. Philadelphia's been impressive. Um, and San Diego, that's another team that just seems to know exactly what they want to do. That was a good one for me in the juice boxes this week. In that, the road dog, definitely a team to watch. They've been interesting. No Chucky, no problem. Good understanding on what they want to do with the ball. I did not have Dryer for contender of Golden Boot in my bingo cards. So that's been kind of interesting how that plays out. But man, no, it's just been exciting. And then Seattle with the rotator squad, they take it to LAFC. This was before the Cruz Azul game. It was a nice team win. Obviously, LAFC had a heavy rotated lineup within themselves. But I got to tell you, Steve Cherundolo was all burning up in the head in the post-game conference. I mean, he called out his team about effort, about guys that came on. So LAFC, regardless of having a good squad and some good results, that 5-2 against Seattle, rotated pieces or not, it hurt. So we'll see how they respond back this week.
No doubt. So let's take a peek at match week 4, and here's where we go with cliffhanger. I'll give you numbers. If you want me to stop, we'll stop. You just sit there and interrupt me, and we'll talk about it. Red Bulls and the purple team is one of the two 2:30 matchups Eastern time on Saturday. Red Bulls favored at a plus 127. Toronto and Chicago. Toronto, yeah, basically, yes. Toronto is a plus 106 at home. I'd love to know where the goals are going to come from. Chicago, who we were asking where the goals are going to come from, has it found them at least in the short term. They're a plus 229 dog going to Toronto. The draw, by the way, is a plus 264 for Chicago on the road at Toronto. Yeah, I figured that one might be a
no, that was interesting in terms of numbers. I mean, if you want some easy money, I would not mind that at all. I would actually be willing to just put it on Chicago, period, and maybe add a little bit on the goal plus end. But I mean, with how bad Toronto has been and Chicago, despite not being brilliant, they did get some goals from Dallas. They do seem to have a little bit of talent that can be exploited there at the final third. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I like that.
All right, so 3.5 is a plus 189. 3 is a plus 142. 2.5 is a minus 128. So it changes from 2.5 to 3. That's where you go from minus to plus on your total.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind that 3, to be honest. That's very doable enough on both ends. I don't see Chicago keeping a clean sheet either, despite how bad Toronto is. So yeah, man, that'd be an interesting one.
All right, so plus 142 in that one for the total when it comes to Chicago and Toronto. Please watch something else. LAFC is a 3:45 Eastern time, which means 3:55. So that means it's on Big FOX. LAFC coming back. They are at home at a minus 137, hosting Austin FC at a plus 373. Austin did not. LAFC did.
Ooh, my, that's a big one. It's a little too rich for my money. That's not there just for fun. I wouldn't fall on that trap, to be honest. Yes, LAFC did play midweek. They played with a full squad. They were tested completely against the Columbus Crew team that had Steve and that LAFC coaching staff sweating bullets for a little bit. But I don't trust Austin enough to go out there and really take care of business at LAFC. What's the draw on that one?
Plus 266 in the composite.
I like that draw. That 266 seems like a good safe number. Steve really surprised me here in Seattle by rotating as much as he did. Maybe he does it again. Maybe you get a rotated squad against Austin. especially with, like I said, how much you tested this core group against Columbus. So yeah, I think a draw is something that I might put a little bit of cash on. Yeah.
All right, Charlotte hosting Cincinnati at 7:30. That starts all your night action. Charlotte's a plus 123 at home. Cincinnati is a plus 212 on the road at Charlotte. DC hosting CF Montreal at a minus 167. CF Montreal north of plus 400. NYC hosting the Revs. NYC is a minus 143. The Revs are a plus 360. Sporting at 8:15, which means 8:25, hosting Minnesota United. Minnesota United had a clunker last week. They're a plus 175 on the road, going to Sporting Kansas City. Dallas hosting Vancouver. Vancouver plus 208, having to hopscotch across a couple of borders. Dallas a plus 114. Houston a minus 130 at home, hosting RSL. All Caps at home, 8:30 Eastern time, which means 8:40. St. Louis City SC is a plus 148 going up against Seattle at a plus 177. Draws a plus 233. What say you?
Oh, let me get the draw all day, every day, man. This is one of those matchups that Seattle and St. Louis can really end up in my opinion. They usually are very evenly matched. I really don't know the way Brian Smetzer is going to bring this lineup and how he's going to figure it out, who he's going to put in. There's so many question marks for Seattle going into this game. And with how organized, how hard to beat St. Louis has been, this could be a little bit of a snoozer there with a 0-0 goal line. But yeah, give me the draw there all day, every day.
Plus 233. San Diego hosting Crew. Intrigue here. San Diego's a plus 139. Crew a plus 173. Draw is a plus 256. Early test for San Diego FC.
Wow, those are interesting numbers. Very low. Look, San Diego's been a good team, and they've proven it, right? The proof is in the pudding, and they definitely can get results. I do see Columbus in this one, though, trying to figure their own season out. I think that if Nancy's going to do anything, is make sure that punch in the gut that they suffered midweek kind of gets moved on. So I could see Columbus having a good game against San Diego FC, maybe exposing a little bit of those inside channels that they at times tend to have issues covering. So give me Columbus in this one. What's the lineup on goals?
All right, so let's find out the lineup on the goals here. So my guess is we'll start at 2.5. See what it feels like going forward here. Quick note from Cincinnati: looks like they're finalizing a deal to sign Brad Smith to a supplemental roster spot, according to Laurel Failer and our friends at Queen City Press. 2.5 is a minus 139. 3 is a plus 124. 3.5 is a plus 169.
Ugh. Yeah. I don't know. I just go with the win on Columbus. Not the greatest numbers there for you, but I do like Columbus in this one. I feel like San Diego has had their run. They have, but I can see where Wilfred is going to come in, see where the gaps are at for against this San Diego FC team, and take it to them.
San Jose hosting Colorado at a minus 102. Colorado's a plus 249. Sunday, Philadelphia hosting Nashville at a minus 123. Nashville on the road is a plus 300. Portland hosting LAG at 4:45, which means 4:55 Eastern time. Portland a plus 125. LAG a plus 192, and your draw is a plus 262.
Well, that's two bad teams right now, at least. Look, LA Galaxy were able to sharpen their knife a little bit, and they got some goals against Heridiano. That might give you a little bit of a boost. Julian Aude is a guy that can definitely build off of that performance. I like what I saw from Fagundes in that one. I'll take LA Galaxy against Portland. And Portland has been a bit of a mess, just not on the field, but off. I saw some cryptic messages from Super Rich on his IG account. I feel like there's a lot of issues there in Portland. So yeah, I'll go with LAG on that one, and that could be a bit of of an interesting one in terms of goals as well. I might be, wondering what the over would be on that one. Because yeah, that could have some goals.
All right, so let's take the total and see what we can come up with here right now. And looking at the totals once again, traditionally we'll start at 2.5 and see where we go. 2.5 a minus 164. 3 is a plus 101. 3.5 is a plus 145.
Woo! Yeah, no, that's another one where I'll just take my money and run with the LA Galaxy in that one.
Which means we have one more match on the board.
It's a
It is
big
the
one.
late. It's the late game. Sunday night soccer. Go ahead and use the hashtag. We had Andrew Wiebe on the show earlier this morning. Atlanta United, a plus 139 at home against Messi and Friends. Messi and Friends playing against Cavalier tonight. Don't know their travel plans leaving Cavalier in the National Stadium in front of 35,000 in Jamaica. Don't know if they're going to fly home. Don't know if they're going to spend the night, fly back in the morning. Don't know if they're going to fly here. Don't know what their plans are leaving Cavalier to get ready for the late game on Sunday night. That might be the only thing that's a saving grace of them heading straight home. Messi and Friends a plus 167. Draw is a plus 272. Atlanta United favored at a plus 139.
Look, this is going to be. I've been waiting for Atlanta to have like a big signature win. They haven't done it. They underwhelmed me a little bit against RSL. Um, Miami has been doing their thing, and they've been able to get results. It hasn't been pretty, hasn't been amazing. Probably the best goal of the MLS season so far was that little 1-2 between Luis Suarez and Agenda, who's been phenomenal this season. I like what I see from their offensive end. But look, I think that this is going to be Atlanta's big win of the start of the season, at least. There's a lot of question marks with that defensive component of Inter Miami's team. Goalkeeper gets a red card. They're able to hold on. You got to give them a lot of credit for that. But I do think that the style of play of Atlanta, the way they attack the flanks, the movement from La to La, I feel like they're going to complicate things for Inter Miami, and they're going to get a big win. So I'm going to take Atlanta, and I want to hear the goals because I feel like this might be a very good game in terms of at least a 3.5. I'd be willing to put on it.
Okay. Still no word on Latte Lot, whether or not he will be out of concussion protocol by the time we get there. But once again, it's 5 days instantly put in after the match was over. So you're looking Friday, Saturday, having that extra day gives you that extra day to analyze. But 3.5 plus 120. And see, wow, they just skipped 4 altogether. So they don't think it's going to really get to 4 because 4.5 is a plus 273. 3.75 is 1.54. So I'm guessing if you wanted to pull something in the 4 range, it might be in the neighborhood of plus 200 if you're looking at 4. So that's what you're staring at. 3.5 a plus 120, 4.5 a plus 273. So kind of think somewhere in the middle for 4.
Yeah, I'm so certain it's going to be beyond that. That I'll just play it simple there with a 3.5. But I will take Atlanta on this one without a doubt. That's a great point about the concussion protocol on Lat. It might change this a little bit, but I still believe that Atlanta could really take it to this Inter Miami team. I feel like that there's like a big rivalry between these two that has kind of been built up specifically over the last couple of seasons. So yeah, man, give me Atlanta, give me the goals.
And Will is saying he'd put money down on plus 4.5 in this one as well, considering that there will be no Ustari. It'll be the return of Rocco Rios Novo between the sticks for Messi and Friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder what the lineup's going to look like for them having played in Cavalry on Thursday night. What's going on with you, Pulso Sports, and your field trips to the Providence and Swedish Bouncy House and figuring out what's going on with Seattle as they get ready for the weekend?
Yep, we'll be there today. So make sure that you check out our YouTube channel, of course, Pulso Sports, with all of the updates on Paul Arriola, Jordan Morris, Pedro de la Vega. Is going to be a big news day at Providence and Swedish Performance Center and Clubhouse. Additionally, from that, of course, don't forget on Fridays. So tomorrow we're going to be recording what you learned over the week. Me and Jeremiah will talk about the Cruz Azul loss. We'll talk about the game at St. Louis and whatever notes we have from today's training session and tomorrow's training session, which should be a short one. It should be a train and travel day for the team. So it's going to be an interesting week. Go ahead and check both Nos Arietes podcast and network for Lobby Scorchers kickoff on Monday mornings. And of course, our Friday night afternoonish show with Jeremiah O'Shan. We might have a little bit of a guest that we're trying to get for this one that might be interesting for some people here in the PNW.
Oh, okay. So you're heading to the clubhouse to find out what's going on. As always, my friend, great to see you, and we will catch up with you next week here, as we always lay everything out from a Pacific perspective. Thank you, my friend. Be safe. We'll catch up with you next week.
Appreciate you, boss. We'll see you next week.